There are stories that blur the line between the seen and the unseen, tales of power that defy imagination and stretch the very fabric of what we believe is possible. Among them, one story stands alone, shimmering with an ancient glow, the epic of a single ring, a divine gift to Prophet Sulaiman that granted him a kingdom unlike any other the world has ever known or ever will. This wasn't just some fancy trinket or a mere object of power. It was a heavenly seal, a conduit of divine authority that commanded the very wind, whispered to the animals, and even held sway over the mysterious, often mischievous world of the jinn. Today, we're not just telling a story. We're unveiling the secret of Prophet Sulaiman's ring and exploring how its profound divine power wasn't just revealed to the world, but fundamentally reshaped it. Imagine, if you will, a kingdom where the wind itself waits for your command, swirling to create comfort or carrying your very throne across vast distances. Picture a world where the fiercest lions bow their majestic heads as you pass, their roars replaced by gentle rumbles of respect. Envision a realm where creatures of smokeless fire, beings we call jinn, capable of incredible feats, don't just exist but actively build magnificent palaces of glass that touch the clouds, their intricate designs defying human engineering. For Prophet Sulaiman, this wasn't some far-fetched fantasy. It wasn't a dream. It was, quite literally, just another Tuesday. And at the heart of it all, the source of this extraordinary dominion, sat a seemingly simple band of gold. Warm against his finger, it hummed with a name, a divine inscription that only angels dared to whisper, a secret known only to a chosen few. No dazzling rubies, no flashy mystical runes adorned it, just a seal. Yet this humble seal possessed the might to shut the mouths of the most rebellious demons, and, conversely, to open the gates of unparalleled wisdom and understanding. Are you ready to see how one unassuming piece of jewelry, entrusted to a humble prophet, completely rewrote the rules of reality? Long before Sulaiman ascended to the throne and became the legendary king we remember, he was a young man. A thoughtful, observant soul, he spent his formative years watching his revered father, Prophet Dawood, rule with a blend of unwavering justice and psalms so profoundly beautiful they made mountains echo with their melody. Dawood's wisdom was legendary, his voice a balm to hearts. But Sulaiman, even as a youth, harbored a different kind of ambition, a unique yearning not for personal glory, but for a stewardship so vast and impactful that no one could ever replicate it. One particular night, while the entire royal court slept soundly and the palace was hushed, save for the gentle rustle of the night breeze, Sulaiman found himself awake. He paced the cool, polished marble floors, his heart heavy with a profound prayer. He wasn't asking for riches or power for its own sake. Instead, he earnestly implored the one who had gifted Dawood with a voice that melted hearts to grant him something distinct. A kingdom of such unparalleled scope and influence that none would ever possess its like after him. This isn't just a detail from folklore. The Quran records this very prayer in Surah Sad. "My Lord, forgive me, and grant me a kingdom such as shall not belong to anyone after me." This wasn't a wish born of ego or a thirst for dominance. It was a deep, spiritual desire for stewardship, for the capacity to spread mercy and justice so wide that even the wind would feel its gentle touch. And heaven, as it always does for sincere hearts, listened. Tradition holds that the majestic angel Jibril, radiant and swift, arrived at dawn. He wasn't empty-handed. In his ethereal grip, he held a small, unassuming cedar box. Inside, nestled on a bed of what felt like pure moonlight, lay the seal. It was plain, almost dull in its appearance, certainly not what you'd expect for an object of such immense power. Yet, the moment Sulaiman carefully slipped it onto his finger, the very air in the room seemed to bend, to thicken, as if creation itself had just been handed a monumental new chore list. A subtle hum vibrated through him, a resonance with something ancient and vast. This ring wasn't magic in the way fairy tales often portray it, an arbitrary, whimsical force. No, this was something far more profound. It was pure, unadulterated authority, on loan from the highest authority. Think of it like a sheriff's badge, but one so undeniably legitimate that even the toughest, most rebellious outlaw in the universe would have no choice but to respect it, to obey its silent command. It was a symbol of divine trust, a testament to Sulaiman's profound connection with the divine, making him a true instrument of God's will on earth. With the ring now firmly on his finger, Sulaiman's first real test wasn't long in coming. The jinn, these beings of smokeless fire, had long been a force unto themselves, capable of both immense good and terrible mischief. To bring them under his benevolent rule would require a demonstration of power, but more importantly, a display of unparalleled wisdom and righteous authority. The jinn who first truly felt the ring's undeniable tug was named Ifrit. Now, Ifrit wasn't just any jinn, he was infamous. Legends whispered of his terrifying strength, of how he could rip fortresses apart faster than you could say, well, asbestos lawsuit. He swaggered into Sulaiman's court, a plume of smoke coiling menacingly from his eyes, his very presence radiating defiance. He was ready to sneer, to scoff, to mock this skinny human in linen who dared to claim dominion over his kind. But Sulaiman wasn't intimidated. He simply raised his hand, a gesture of quiet command. The seal on his finger flashed. It wasn't a blinding light, not a magical spark, but an emanation of pure, unshakable certainty. In that instant, Ifrit's bravado, his centuries of arrogant defiance, visibly shrank into a pathetic squeak. The jinn, who minutes before had considered himself untouchable, now stood trembling. And what was Sulaiman's command? To build. Not just any structure, but a magnificent palace. Minutes later, the mighty Ifrit, humbled and compliant, was seen hauling massive blocks of crystal, so impossibly pure they seemed to reflect thoughts, not just light. Other jinn, equally compelled by the ring's authority, joined him, working with a speed and precision that defied comprehension. By sunset, a breathtaking palace stood proudly where only barren sand had stretched for miles just hours before. Its vast halls, adorned with unimaginable artistry, sang with the cool, refreshing whisper of the wind. Channeled and directed by Sulaiman's will, the human architects, those who had spent lifetimes perfecting their craft, could only blink in stunned amazement, their skills suddenly rendered obsolete. They were, for all intents and purposes, suddenly unemployed. And Sulaiman? He didn't gloat. He didn't boast. Instead, he walked among the jinn, inspecting their work, and then, with genuine sincerity, he thanked Ifrit. He even inquired after Ifrit's family, a gesture of unexpected kindness. Then, in a move that truly underscored his unique brand of leadership, he handed the mighty jinn a sandwich. This remarkable mix of absolute command and profound empathetic kindness became the hallmark, the very brand of Sulaiman's extraordinary reign. It wasn't just about forcing obedience, it was about integrating these powerful beings into a functional, even respectful society under divine guidance. You've probably heard, perhaps from a nature documentary or a science class, that ants have incredibly complex societies. Modern entomologists, with all their advanced technology, now call them superorganisms, marveling at their intricate communication and social structures. But Prophet Sulaiman, he knew it centuries earlier. His connection to the natural world, facilitated by the ring, transcended mere observation. It was a profound, intuitive understanding. One sweltering afternoon, as his vast convoy, a moving city of soldiers, courtiers, and animals, marched across a sprawling valley, Sulaiman's ear caught an almost imperceptible sound. It was the frantic, high-pitched warning of an ant. She was urgently signaling her colony. "Get underground, quickly! The king's mighty army is coming, and we must not be crushed." Most rulers, even the most benevolent, would have simply shrugged, perhaps stepped a little more carefully. But the march would continue. Sulaiman, however, did something extraordinary. He smiled, a gentle, knowing smile, and then nodded. With a simple raise of his hand, he halted the entire immense procession. He waited patiently until every last ant had safely vanished into their subterranean tunnels. This small, seemingly insignificant pause, scholars say, is precisely why the wind, a force of nature itself, later agreed to carry his magnificent carpet at what amounted to highway speeds, without a single bug splatting against its silken surface. Respect, Sulaiman taught us, begets respect, not just among humans, but across all of creation. And that carpet, It wasn't some flimsy rug. This was a marvel of engineering and divine power. A vast expanse of green silk, easily the size of a modern cricket field. It would lift effortlessly on command, ferrying not just Sulaiman, but his entire retinue of courtiers, their horses, and even the occasional curious peacock high above the world. While airborne, soaring through the crisp, clean air, Sulaiman wouldn't be idly gazing at the clouds. Oh no. He'd often be found sitting at the very edge of the carpet, the ring resting warm and powerful on the rail beside him, meticulously reviewing ledgers. These weren't just any ledgers. They detailed everything from crop yields across his vast kingdom to tax revenues, and yes, even the overtime hours put in by his jinn workforce. Multitasking? Sulaiman's level was nothing short of legendary. He was a king, a prophet, an administrator, and a steward all at once, orchestrating an empire with a wisdom and efficiency that remains unparalleled. News of this extraordinary king, who commanded winds and conversed with ants, whose palaces rose from sand in a blink, and who traveled the skies on a carpet, inevitably reached far and wide. It reached Bilqis, the Queen of Sheba, a monarch renowned not just for her beauty, but for her formidable intelligence and shrewd diplomacy. She was so sharp, so discerning, that legend says she named her own throne maybe later because no suitor or proposal ever quite measured up to her exacting standards. Bilqis was not easily impressed, and she certainly wasn't one to blindly accept another's claims of power. She decided to test Sulaiman. She sent him lavish gifts, rare spices that could make water taste like the most exquisite dessert, gleaming gold coins stamped with her regal silhouette, and a complex riddle intricately written in 3 different ancient scripts. It was a challenge, a subtle checkmate attempt to gauge his wisdom and power. Sulaiman, ever the gracious host, accepted the magnificent gifts, but then, with a quiet confidence that spoke volumes, he sent them back. Accompanying them was a simple yet profoundly impactful note. Your throne arrived before your heart did. It was a gentle flex, a subtle demonstration that his power wasn't just about wealth or armies. Before Bilqis even embarked on her journey to his court, Sulaiman decided to truly impress upon her the nature of his divine authority. He asked his jinn, "Who among you can bring me her throne before she arrives?" The mighty Ifrit, eager to prove his renewed loyalty, boasted, "I can bring it to you before you rise from your place." But another jinn, one possessing true knowledge of the book, declared, "I will bring it to you before your glance returns to you." And so it was. The jinn, under the ring's command, snatched her colossal throne overnight, transporting it across vast distances, then shrunk it and reassembled it, piece by meticulous piece, right there in Sulaiman's courtyard, all before breakfast was served. When Bilqis finally arrived, she saw her own magnificent throne, perfectly mirrored before her, a silent, undeniable testament to Sulaiman's extraordinary power. It was a gentle flex indeed, but one that resonated deeply. Yet what truly converted her, what truly won her heart and mind, wasn't this display of raw power, or even the astonishing transportation of her throne. It was a moment of profound humility and revelation. Sulaiman welcomed her into a grand palace, but its floor was made entirely of glass, so perfectly clear that the flowing water beneath it was visible. Thinking it was actual water, Bilqis, with natural modesty, lifted her skirt to avoid getting it wet. In that instant, the ring on Sulaiman's finger gleamed, catching the light, and the transparent glass floor revealed itself. She laughed, a genuine, unforced laugh, at her own assumption, at the cleverness of the design, and at the gentle lesson implicit in the moment. In that laughter, she found not embarrassment, but a profound sense of humility. And in that humility, she found a deeper truth, and later, the one who gives rings and takes them away, the ultimate source of all power. The Quran dedicates pages to her remarkable story, but the takeaway for us is simple, yet timeless. Truth, genuine insight, and spiritual understanding will always, always outrank mere spectacle. Power, especially power as vast and unparalleled as Sulaiman's, inevitably breeds envy. Even among those born of smokeless fire, among the jinn who are compelled to serve, resentment could fester. A particularly cunning and disgruntled jinn named Sakhr, tired of his eternal weekend shifts and chafing under Sulaiman's righteous command, hatched a treacherous plan. He bided his time, waiting for the perfect moment of vulnerability. That moment came one day when Sulaiman, with his customary devotion, performed ablution, the ritual washing, before his daily prayers, momentarily removing the precious ring and entrusting it to one of his wives. Sakhr, disguised or moving with unseen speed, seized the opportunity. He snatched the ring, a cold, calculating glint in his eyes. With a surge of illicit triumph, he slipped it onto his own flaming finger and, with audacious impunity, sat upon Sulaiman's magnificent throne. The court was plunged into a surreal state of confusion. The loyal courtiers blinked, disoriented by the sudden, subtle shift in presence. The majestic lions, usually so calm, growled low in their throats, sensing an impostor. The very wind, usually so obedient, froze mid-gust, an unnatural stillness descending upon the kingdom. For 40 long, bewildering days, the impostor, Sakhr, ruled. His decrees were not just cruel, but utterly absurd, reflecting his chaotic nature. All dates must be eaten clockwise, he declared with a mad gleam. Chickens must wear tiny crowns, he commanded, much to the poultry's bewilderment. And, perhaps most famously, swimming pools must be filled with custard. The kingdom descended into a bizarre, almost comical tyranny. Meanwhile, the real Sulaiman, now ringless, stripped of his authority and unrecognized by his own subjects, wandered the streets. He was a king in rags, eating leftovers, listening to the bewildered citizens curse. The king they believed had lost his mind, unaware of the deception. It was a live, painful demonstration of a timeless truth. Position and power are temporary, transient things. True character, however, is permanent and endures beyond any title or adornment. On the 40th night, as divine justice would have it, Sakhr's illicit hold on the ring began to wane. While he slept, perhaps exhausted by his own foolish decrees, the ring, almost as if it had a will of its own, slipped from his flaming finger. It rolled away, unnoticed by the sleeping jinn. By a twist of fate, a poor, humble woman going about her early morning chores found it. She felt its unexpected weight, its strange warmth, and recognizing its unique design, she immediately knew it belonged to the true king. Without hesitation, without thought for personal gain, she returned it to the rightful Sulaiman. The moment the ring slid back onto Sulaiman's finger, the world seemed to exhale. Sakhr, his power instantly gone, fled in terror, vanishing into the unseen realms. Order snapped back into place like elastic. The wind resumed its gentle sigh, and the kingdom, though scarred by the brief period of madness, began to heal. The lesson was clear and universally applicable. Even miracles, even divine authority can take a coffee break. But justice, true justice, always runs on divine caffeine, eventually setting things right. Life under Sulaiman's renewed reign continued with its characteristic blend of order and wonder. Jinn still labored, animals still conversed, and the wind still obeyed. One serene dawn, Sulaiman stood quietly, leaning on his staff, observing his jinn diligently stacking books made of polished sapphire, their surfaces glinting with captured light. He didn't move. He stood there, still as a statue, lost in contemplation, overseeing his vast, divinely appointed kingdom. The jinn, accustomed to his deep meditations, joked among themselves, "The king's in meditation again, don't disturb him." Hours passed, then more hours. Unbeknownst to the jinn, or anyone, a tiny, unassuming creature, a termite so small it could be a punchline, had been quietly, diligently chewing its way through the base of Sulaiman's staff. It worked with the relentless, unseen purpose of nature, its tiny jaws gnawing away at the wood. Finally, with a soft, almost imperceptible crack, the staff snapped. The body of the king, no longer supported, gently hit the ground. The ring, still warm and powerful, remained on his finger, but the finger itself had cooled. Only then did the jinn realize the profound truth. The unseen thing they, for all their power and supernatural insight, could never truly know. The exact moment a soul returns to its maker. For months, the entire court had functioned, believing the king was merely testing their vigilance, their loyalty. The ants carried their crumbs, the wind filed its reports, the lions patrolled the streets with their usual majestic stride. The kingdom continued its rhythm, sustained by the momentum of Sulaiman's leadership, utterly oblivious. When the news finally broke, when the truth of his quiet passing became undeniable, the kingdom exhaled a collective, heartbreaking gasp. And the ring, it vanished. Some legends say it simply dissolved into pure light, its purpose fulfilled. Others whisper that it waits, nestled once more inside a cedar box, hidden away until the time is right for the next steward, the next soul worthy of such a profound responsibility. The Quran, with its characteristic depth and brevity, sums it all up beautifully. And we certainly sent Sulaiman to his people. And when he fell, the jinn clearly saw that if they had known the unseen, they would not have remained in humiliating punishment. The translation for us is clear and resonates with timeless wisdom. If you ever think power, any power, is truly yours to own, check the lease. It's always temporary, always a loan from a higher authority. So, what do we, in our modern world of algorithms and artificial intelligence, do with a story about a gold band that bossed around the elements and commanded spirits? We don't just marvel at the fantastical elements, we extract the profound, enduring wisdom embedded within it. We remember three crucial things that resonate just as powerfully today as they did millennia ago. First, every single gift we receive, every talent, every opportunity, every ounce of influence is ultimately a loan. Sulaiman's kingdom made even the grandest ambitions of someone like Elon Musk look like a child's lemonade stand. Yet he prayed for forgiveness and guidance more often than he prayed for expansion. He understood that true power wasn't about accumulation, but about stewardship and accountability. It was about using what he was given for the greater good, under divine guidance. Second, authority without empathy, without wisdom, without a foundation of genuine character, inevitably becomes a meme, a joke, or worse, a tyranny. The brief, absurd era of soccer, the fake king with his custard-filled pools and crowned chickens, proves this point perfectly. Power divorced from compassion and sound judgment quickly devolves into chaos and ridicule. It reminds us that true leadership isn't about imposing your will, but about serving the needs of those you lead. Third, and perhaps most profoundly, the greatest power, the most liberating wisdom, is knowing precisely where your power ends. The ring, for all its miraculous capabilities, didn't save Sulaiman from the inevitable reality of death. It simply allowed him to serve better, to build greater, to lead with more wisdom and justice while he breathed, while he was here on earth. His quiet passing, discovered only by a humble termite, underscores the ultimate truth. All earthly power, all earthly life, is finite. Today, our rings are often smaller, more technological, yet they hold their own forms of power. We wear wedding bands that symbolize profound human connection, smartwatches that track our every move, and the phones we clutch like modern talismans, gateways to vast digital kingdoms. These devices, these tools, these symbols can connect us. They can help us create wonders, or they can corrupt us, depending entirely on whose signature we let run the code of our lives. They amplify our intentions, for better or worse. So ask yourself honestly, does my daily kingdom, the sphere of my influence, my daily actions and choices, look more like Sulaiman's dedicated service, his humble stewardship, his compassionate command? Or does it perhaps lean a little too close to soccer's silly, self-serving, and ultimately destructive decrees? If you find yourself leaning towards the latter, maybe it's not too late. Maybe it's time to consciously, deliberately hand the controls back to the original programmer, the ultimate source of all true authority and wisdom. If this ancient story, with its profound lessons, has shifted something within you, if it sparked a new thought or a fresh perspective, please tap that like button so others can discover its magic too. Drop a comment below telling us which moment, which detail, which lesson stunned you the most. And of course, subscribe for more journeys where the timeless wisdom of ancient tales meets the insatiable curiosity of our modern world. The legendary ring may be gone, its physical form vanished into the mists of history, but its most important homework assignment, the profound, challenging, and ultimately liberating lesson of humility, still sits squarely on humanity's desk, waiting patiently for us to finally finish the test.